because I want you to understand how a client's mind works, to be honest.
Right.
Like especially when you're going into the negotiation skills, right? What are the things what client would be looking at?
I just want to highlight, I think it's great you said we became friends with him. We
Yes.
sat down at the table. I think there's a lot of people want, instant gratification. They want to just
Yes.
be able to say, hey, you're selling, give me a good deal, give me a VTB.
Yeah.
Doesn't work like that.
If you ask someone that, okay, you are doing this 9 to 5 job, are you happy? 90% answer will be no.
Right. Welcome. Welcome to the podcast. I'm here with my man Nitin today. He is an investor, realtor, Jiggles and Giggles owner. I probably got that wrong, but he is a business owner, realtor, investor, father, all around great guy. He's going to drop some gems today, so stay tuned. Yes, I'm here with my man Nitin, fellow wealth genius, investor, business owner, IT background, realtor, father, many things. So I appreciate you being here, man. Thank you so much. So let's get right into it. So you are an investor / realtor or a realtor / investor?
So I'm an investor first,
Okay.
realtor second.
Okay.
Like even when I show properties to my client, I bring in with the investor mindset first so that
Right.
I can educate my clients better.
Absolutely.
That's what's
I think that's very valuable. Why do you think that's valuable? Why do you think that kind of is a unique trait for yourself versus other realtors?
Yeah, so I got myself educated first in real estate, both in terms of going to a coaching program,
Right.
which specifically focuses on multifamily called Build Genius,
Right.
run by Alfonso Quadra.
Absolutely. The man,
And
the goat, the godfather.
Also, sorry?
The godfather.
The godfather of multifamily, you're right. As well as I did all the productivity, the mental ability of a person. So I did many of the courses first
Okay.
because I want you to understand how a client's mind works, to be honest.
Right.
Like especially when you're going into the negotiation skills, right? What are the things what client would be looking at? What are the things from the seller or your opponent realtor is looking at? And how you can become a better negotiator. So those are the skills which I got myself acquainted with first. And then when I saw that, okay, now I have enough education that I can help other people in buying the real estate, that's when I got my realtor license.
Okay. And how long have you had your license?
It has been 3 months.
3 months. Okay. So relatively recently. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great that you took those steps,
Right.
strategically to be able to serve people. And is your goal to work with investors only, or do you work with like end users, retail buyers as well?
I'll say both.
Yep.
Investors will become the end buyers as well, right? Because
course,
even
yeah.
investors need a house to buy. So
Right.
I'll not limit myself. It's just that, with investors, I feel that sometimes it's better understanding because the investors work on numbers
Yeah,
rather than being emotional.
absolutely.
So when you buy a
Big
real
difference,
estate,
yeah.
you have two choices: either be emotional and look into those cosmetic kitchen, bathrooms, or look at the numbers.
Right.
Okay, today maybe I'm buying the property at a discount. It needs a lot of work, but can I make it better and get more equity out of it in the long run? So there are two kinds of clients.
Absolutely. Big difference between the two.
Yes.
And so what got you into real estate in the first place?
So what got me into real estate is that, so I work into IT background, and, me and my wife have enough saved money. But when we thought about where do we put our money? So first option, like as usual, as many people do, we invest in mutual fund. But when we saw our mutual fund statement at the end of the year one, it was sitting at 2%, what we with what we invested initially. So then we asked ourselves, is it the best investment we can do? We looked into GIC. GIC at that time was 3.5%.
Right.
Okay. Is it still enough? And then I looked into many podcasts. I went into YouTube and saw that what the most wealthiest people in this world do it.
There's a common theme.
There's a common theme
Yeah.
that 90% of the wealthiest people invest in real estate. So I thought, yes, okay, now we are talking big. Now it's real estate. That's when I I got it into the bigger pockets. That's how I started in 2019. Many of the people started with bigger pockets. I listened to Brendan's almost all the podcasts initially, and then I realized, okay, what does BRRRR means? What does house hacking means? I can take HELOC out of my primary resident property. I can buy investment property, and then I can flip it. That's how I started. And so I took a HELOC from my own primary residence, bought almost a brand new townhouse in Cambridge.
Okay.
But then I thought, okay, is it the best use? So that time in Cambridge, a lot of students were coming. There were not enough spaces for students to rent. I thought, okay, can I convert it into student housing? Without knowing too much about student housing, I converted my townhouse into student housing. Later on, talking to a few members, they told, okay, you really can't do a student housing like this.
Right.
You have to tell your lender, you have to tell your insurance company that, you're doing the student housing.
And not all are willing to
exactly
let you do that.
So there are ways out how you can do the student housing, but I will say, always talk to a lawyer
for sure
and a realtor when you're doing student housing, because there are some hidden things, or you have to abide by the law when you're doing this.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's a lot that don't, right? But it's definitely important to follow the right steps. You don't want it to come back and bite you later on. So that's good. And so then you got into that, and so between there and now you're in multifamily, right? So how did that look like?
So when I bought that, so now I thought, okay, now I'm capped out. What next?
Right.
Where do I get the money from? Luckily, that was a COVID year, 2021. Price appreciation.
Luckily, COVID.
That's how, especially who is invested in real estate. I will say that they are lucky that they jumped in before COVID hit, because everybody made millions.
Right.
The interest rate was so low. If you already have a property, it's getting appreciated. So you are getting equity. So we sold that, took a capital gain, was not enough educated at how much tax I'm paying, but still I took a hit. That's when I realized that, there's more value in getting a value add property, a BRRRR method.
Right.
So that's when, we bought a triplex in Sudbury. So we moved, we took the money from Cambridge, put it in Sudbury, bought it all cash, renovated in 6 months, refinance, pulled the money out. We thought, okay, what do we need? Rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Next time we went to Timmins, bought 8 units cash, refinance, and now we are sitting at cash, looking for the next opportunity.
Where in Sudbury?
Sudbury, it's in B minus neighborhood.
I grew up in Sudbury, so I know.
So it's in Donovan.
Okay.
So not the greatest. But the price per door, it's really good.
I'm not scared of the Donovan. I know a lot of investors are just like, stay away from that area completely. But certain streets, yes, but you don't have to be scared of the whole area.
And if you have a right team, if you know a good realtor, if you know a good property manager and a contractor, that's all you need in a city. Because when things go bad, at least you have someone with whom you can work with.
Right. And how was your experience in Timmins?
Timmins, good and bad both. In terms of valuation, the deal which was brought to us was the numbers were shocking. We bought 8 units for 208,000. Nobody can believe that number.
Can you repeat that, please?
So we bought 8 units, 2 houses for 208,000.
And what's the math on that? How much is that a door?
It's coming around 26,000.
Wow. Yeah.
So no brainer.
Yeah. You don't come across that often.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. The property was water damaged.
Yeah.
So there was a tenant. The old landlord kicked that tenant out. And one day that tenant braked in. In February, Timmins goes minus 40.
Yeah.
And that tenant purposely opened all the taps. So the whole house became the ice house.
So this was before you bought it or after you bought it?
So this when we put it under contract. So we bought it under contract in January. The asking price was 350.
Oh, okay.
So then we asked, okay, now this property is water damaged.
Right.
We went through a proper inspection, and we knew that how much cost. And then we said, and we knew that this landlord has a previous history with insurance company. So insurance company was not willing to give the full coverage. So he had no choice just to sell it. For us also, none of the lenders was coming unless we go private. None of the lenders were giving us the money because this house is not livable. Yeah. So people people who don't know, if your house is not livable, it's hard to get a mortgage.
For sure. Yeah.
So we went in, we had cash from our refinance. We bought it all cash, but still it was not enough because we had a big reno. We estimated initially 150,000 reno. So we asked the seller, what is he willing to do with us? Like, is he really want to get out of? Then he has to help us.
Nice.
We
Okay.
asked for VTB.
Okay.
So we got 100,000 at VTB as well. So you can think about now, 108,000, 8 units VTB for 1 year.
Yes. Okay. So you won an award for the most creative deal
Yes.
in Wealth Genius. Was this that deal?
Yes, this is the deal.
Great. I'm glad we got to that. I was going to bring that up, so I'm glad we got to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was awarded in the Wealth Genius for the most creative deal, and the reason why, because we negotiated, we understood the seller, and and the seller understood us, that in order to solve his problem, he has to solve our problem as well.
Yeah.
And that's when we became friends. We came into the common table. We asked what we want. He asked what he wanted. And that's how we structured the deal. Fast forward 1 year. So this was in the peak of 2022 when the market was really high.
Wow.
This year, initially, we were expecting it to get more value out of it. But because the cap rate has gone down, still, we can. So after refinance, the two properties, the total 208,000 became 676,000.
It's not too bad.
In total, we were around 380 all in,
Okay.
with all the carrying cost, with all the renovations. So still, we made a ton of money there.
So I just want to highlight, I think it's great. You said we became friends with him. We sat down at the table. I think there's a lot of people want, instant gratification. They want to just be able to say, hey, you're selling, give me a good deal, give me a VTB.
No.
Doesn't work like that.
No.
It takes time. I've seen people like other Wealth Genius members, take months and months and months and months negotiating, going back, talking, and then you finally see them get the deal done, and you're like, wow, that, they stuck to it, and it finally worked out.
Right.
And I think it's important to realize that that's the real life, arc of how a deal can go.
Right.
Sometimes you luck out and you're able to just find a.
I'll tell you an example. That's a perfect example you said. When you negotiate a deal, if you are in good terms with the seller, like if you understand what is the problem the seller is going through, and if you can nail it down, seller will fall in love with you.
That's it. Yeah.
It's never the price point.
No, there's something, it's digging deeper, right? It's peeling the layer back of the onion and figuring out what's the real issue, what's the core problem that they need solved. And that works as an investor and a realtor, right? Like that's the skill right there is being able to build relationships with people and finding out, solving problems. That's all business is, but I mean, specific to real estate, it's like solving people's problems, and you're gonna be okay.
Right. And perfect example is Apple. So when you enter an Apple store, you get assigned a private salesman to you, right?
Yeah.
He's not showing phones to other people.
No, yeah.
He's just dedicating time to you. That's what you call a privileged service. And same thing if you can apply when negotiating a deal, understand the person's mindset, what background is he coming, what problem is he going through, and then see that a deal is for both buyer and seller, and not just that the numbers will work for just one person.
100%. That's I think a huge one that people they're only thinking of themselves.
Right.
And so obviously you're a big proponent of education, right? And I think you're bringing that into your work as a realtor as well. And can you talk about kind of the goal of the average, 9 to 5 worker, somebody who has a job and being able to get out of that and into a life where you can create the time and the freedom that you desire?
Right. That's a very good topic, especially in COVID, a lot of people got into real estate, got too excited, left their 9 to 5 job. Without even thinking that, things can turn upside down very quickly. Same thing happened.
We're seeing it all over the place.
All the positive cash flow properties. And normally we as investors, we buy properties at a variable rate because we always think about selling and buying something else, right? So first of all, everybody's dream is to come out of 9 to 5 job and become an entrepreneur. Right? Or a hustler, right? But you also have to think about that just by buying the real estate will not give you that fixed income every month. Things can go up and down. Maybe a tenant is not paying you. How will you run a family? So you should not be in a situation that a tenant is not paying the rent, and now you don't have enough money to pay your own bills. So rather than just buying a real estate, what you should also think about, is there any service-based business which you would like to do? In my case, me and my wife were sitting on a breakfast table. Our son went to a karate class, and we were talking to each other. And I'm also one of the person who is always curious and asks people a lot of questions. My best question is what's your dream? What do you want to become? And a lot of people don't have a dream.
They don't. They haven't thought about it.
Or they have never thought about it. What out, like if you ask someone that, okay, you are doing this 9 to 5 job, are you happy? 90% answer will be no. I want to do something of my own. The second question you should ask is, what do you want to do? And the moment people start looking into themselves, what the work they have always loved to do most, then think about, is there a business which is there in the world which can satisfy what they always wanted to do? The second thing is, talk to a person who is already into that business. So that's how you can come out of your 9 to 5, think about a business, not only just the real estate, also think about a service-based business which can bring in enough money every month.
Yep. I've heard Alex Hormozy talk about that a lot too. Is don't just think about what can I do to go out and create a business to create money. Think about what you like, and then how can you build a business around what you like.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You do all these things because you enjoy what you're doing throughout the day. Money is not everything, right? You have to do something throughout the day as well, which you enjoy, which you love about.
For sure. Because if you're gonna retire yourself out of your 9 to 5 and have passive income, as everyone's goal is, what are you gonna do?
Right.
You're not just gonna go sit on a beach.
Right.
Most people, that's not the life they really want. They might for a week, like Alfonso says. The second week, what am I doing?
What am I doing here? Right. Enough of sun, enough of beer. What am I doing next?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So there are some business opportunities everywhere, and if you are good in crunching the numbers, you can always analyze the business first and then see if it suits you.
And so I believe you have another business as well that you do on the side.
So
can you talk about it?
It's a very exciting business. A lot of people have been there or have taken their kids there. So I also own an indoor kids playground. So we manifested that business, like I said. So coming back to your original question, how anyone would like to find a business. So me and my wife sitting on a breakfast table analyzing and she told me that, I love hosting parties. But who will pay me for hosting these parties? I said, no, we'll find something, where you can host the parties. And 1 month later, one old friend of mine, who is also a business partner in this Kids Play Zone, he bought, okay, we have a listing, Kids Play Zone. Will you be interested? Then when I told my wife, I said, see, we manifested it.
There you go, yeah.
So now we own that indoor kids playground. It's called Jiggles and Giggles.
I love it.
It's in one area.
Yeah.
We love hosting those parties. We love those smiles which we bring into the kids, to the family.
Yeah.
And the good thing is it's all private. So a lot of parents, as a parent, we have seen that, when our kids go to the playground, they get lost. In this playground, they won't get lost because it's all your family and their kids.
I have a 21-month-old. So
you can imagine.
So I'll be there.
Yeah.
This is the perfect place because now that it's getting cooler outside, we're not going to be going to the park as often. We need those. So.
And the best part, you can bring your own food.
Oh, okay, nice.
So whatever you like, whatever cultural food you have, we allow everything except alcohol because we don't want alcohol with kids.
That's fair. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. That's great though. I love it. And I love the name. Where did the name? Because it was a kids play zone, right?
So we inherited. So this was an existing running facility.
Okay.
We bought everything.
Oh, and it came with the name?
Including the name. But now we have registered the name.
Yeah.
Reason being because we are planning to open another branch soon.
Awesome. Yeah.
So the whole idea is buy a business, think about how you can expand. So now we are entering into franchisee kind of a business.
Right. Okay. And so having the model of private parties versus like open to the public.
Right.
Why did you go one way or the other, or is there a reason?
So this place is around 2,200 square feet, which is not big enough. If you bring in too many kids and family, it becomes too crowded.
For sure, makes sense.
And the second reason is that it's a niche. you will not find many places where you can host your kid's birthday party without spending, like there are places, but you have to spend too much money.
Yeah.
Our place is in competition with, like, similar to other places where you just book a room versus our place where you book the whole area for just for yourself.
Yeah.
So we have that kind of a niche. So in the next franchise, we will think about, we are still brainstorming, should we continue the niche we have or should we enter into like other play zones are. But again, it will be something different compared to others. So we are still brainstorming.
That's
So
cool,
because it has its own pros and cons. Like the scalability is a big factor. Like if right now we are running at 90% capacity every month. Like we are fully booked.
It's a good problem to have.
But how do we increase the profit?
Yeah.
We really don't want to increase the prices, but there's not much opportunity for us to scale up other than adding more add-ons to it. So that's why we are thinking to expand, we need a bigger facility.
Right. And so so you bought this one as is, right? So opening a new facility, is it something you're going to have to build from the ground up? Or are you looking at buying another?
We are open for both. So we are looking for, if someone would like to sell their existing one, we can buy it. But with the kind of knowledge we have and the kind of expertise we have now, we might just take a warehouse and build our own.
Right.
It's a time consuming, but it will be a custom made.
Right.
Because when you buy an existing facility, there is a brand name or there is a stigma.
For sure. Yeah.
Attached to it.
Yeah.
Maybe the customer might have a bad experience in in the previous facility and now you open it. But still that memory is there.
Yeah. And not only that, depending on how long ago it was built.
Exactly.
Things have changed.
Right. Right. And you rightly said. And sometimes, the valuation some of these existing businesses is too much compared to building your own.
Yeah. Like if you look at some of the play structures that we played on in the 80s and 90s, that wouldn't fly today. So
right.
Yeah, I'm sure most of these have been built more recently than that, but I'm sure there's advancements in the way things have.
It's like same when you buy multifamily. Are you buying an
you
old
can
exactly. value add or you can buy a brand new?
Yeah.
What do people prefer?
Brand new.
Brand new.
Everybody wants brand new.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's the same.
Well, speaking of buying brand new versus older, what kind of opportunities are you seeing now in the market? As an investor and realtor and stuff that you can show your clients.
Yeah. So right now, the one good thing is, I'll talk about more of positive, what's there in the market right now. If you like your property, you can go out and negotiate. You're not in the bidding wars.
Right.
Right. If you are a little creative and risk taker, you can structure a deal. Yes, it might be a negative cash flow in some cases, but think about down the line in 3 years when the interest rate go down. How much value this property will be appreciated. Like right now we are seeing that we are back to 2021 prices, right? Or even some cases 2020 prices. But eventually the real estate will come back.
Yeah.
Right. Once the interest rate goes down, it will come back to at least to the price what it was sold for. So if you think down the line 3 to 5 years, you're expecting that 20% depreciation in your property. It will not be like growing as fast as it was in COVID.
Right.
But it's there. It can come back. Or you can go to the secondary markets like Sudbury.
Yep.
I take an example of Sudbury quite often, reason being because like a fourplex will cost you around 350 to 400 in Dunwan area. And still it can give you a total rent of 4,500 to 5,000 every month. Yep. Right? So
just be careful with your tenant screening.
That's exactly. Yeah. If you are careful with your tenant screening, still you can cash flow. Still when the cap rate goes up again, or in this case, low again, right? You can take out all your equity and still you're not bleeding the money because it's positive cash flow. So there are opportunities here. But one thing what I will recommend to all the investors is rather than hopping from one strategy, either multifamily or short-term rental or US investing, stick to one.
Which is very popular right now.
Exactly.
Which makes sense. I mean,
exactly.
It's definitely tougher here. But I mean, I think, affordability is key, right? Like you said, if you can have a longer time horizon,
right?
People have a very narrow vision of, what's happening right now. Oh my God,
Right.
the sky is falling. But if we look at any chart, like you said, it goes up. It's going
Right.
to go back up. And if affordability, if you can afford now the rates in 3 to 5 years, you're going to be laughing.
Yeah. I'll give you another example. A lot of stock investors, they follow Cathy Woods, right? So if you notice what is Cathy Woods doing, she bought Tesla in 2020, 2021. Then she went with her ARKs or another fund, which is more on healthcare side.
Okay.
But now, if you notice Cathy Woods, she's getting into real estate. Why?
Yeah. That's the opportunity.
It's a big opportunity, right?
Yeah. Well, and you see that with, larger investors who are liquidating, going cash so that they're ready. Because they're and Alfonso's been saying it too. Now it's
a hunting season.
Exactly.
It's a hunting season.
And it's, again, you have to have that longer time horizon. You can't be looking like, oh no, things are going to go down over the next 6 months or 8 months.
Yeah.
Think longer. Think 6 years, 8 years. And
yeah.
What we were way overdue for this. We had an extended period of growth.
Yeah.
And so we got to be looking towards the next.
Right. And it's a cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now it's a negative cycle. It's going down. But eventually it will pick up.
Yeah.
That's economy.
And it's the thing. It seems so, once you understand that, it seems so simple, right?
Yeah.
But it's when you're caught in the moment, it's really hard to see that. It's hard to see the forest for the trees. And
also you need to think about if people who are from economics background, this is an year just before US election.
Right.
So the year the US elections are, especially May, June time frame period, you will see every good things happening around.
Of course.
Reason? Because the government wants to come back in the power. And unless they show the positive things back in the market, that gives the confidence in people that, this is the government we would like to work with. So this is a phase, but eventually there will be a sunrise again.
Right. And you have to watch where you get your information.
Exactly.
Because, if you just watch
some YouTube videos.
Well, I mean, YouTube is you're going to get more real information really than just, if you're looking at your mainstream media, everything is horrible until, like you said, it's time to start propping up a government for election, then good things are happening. So you got to be able to weed through the information and then be careful where you get it from.
Another, another topic, whatever. A lot of people get confused where to start from or how do I start from?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. So after doing enough of research, enough of YouTube podcasts, one thing I have learned, and it works well for most of the people. It's not how, it's who.
Right.
It's simple.
Yeah.
If you want to do something, rather than finding out how to do it, look who has done it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Pick up a phone or give a message to that person. I love what you do. Do you mind picking up a conversation? Do you mind taking me, if I can take you out for a coffee? And, just talk to them. How did this started? Where are they now? And if they can give you an advice how to do.
And it seems like a intimidating thing to do, but you'd be shocked at how open people are to talking about this stuff.
Right.
I don't know if it's more of a thing that's happening now with people, or if it's more just inclined to people within this industry. People are open to talk about it. I think it's unlike that in different industries.
Right. Especially in the people who are in real estate, they love to talk.
Yeah.
They love to brag about what they have done it.
Yeah, for sure.
The best question you can ask to them, how did you start with real estate? And that's a key. They will go back into the memory lane and think about how did they started, and they feel passionate about what they have done it.
Yeah.
And and when they feel that you're listening to that, they will give you a lot of goodies as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can get people talking about, good memories for themselves, you're gonna get a lot of gems.
Yeah.
And you've dropped a lot of gems today. That was great. You really just kind of like dove in there and you were like just giving lessons with all your stories. It was really good, man. I was impressed. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank
I appreciate
you for inviting me.
Right.
It was a pleasure coming here.
Let's do it. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. Nitin, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Morgan, for having me here.
Appreciate it. All of his details will be in the link, as well as a link to book a call with me anytime you want. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.